Apple River stabbing case taking place as Nicolae Miu sentenced to 20 years behind bars. And this was the scene inside of the courtroom earlier on today as a Wisconsin judge sentenced Miu to a total of 20 years in prison for that 2022 stabbing in the Apple River that left one person dead and several others injured. Miu was convicted on April the 11th of first-degree reckless homicide in the killing of Isaac Schuman, 4 counts of first-degree reckless endangerment in the safety stabbings of 4 individuals there, happening back on July the 30th on the Apple River in 2022. The state requested 70 years in prison to, quote, protect the public. The breakdown that the district attorney said is 45 years for the murder of Isaac and 24 for recklessly endangering each of the other victims. And we also, before I take you out to some of the comments from different lawyers from the prosecution and the defense, I do want to take you into the courtroom one more time and hear from Miu himself just before hearing this sentence. Let's listen in to what he had to say to the court.
And friends of Isaac, I would like to start by letting you know how deeply sorrowful I have been. I am, and I will always be, for the real fact that Isaac is not with you anymore, and that I was directly involved in his very tragic and unimaginable death at such an early age. I never meant for this tragedy to occur. My soul is broken. My heart is very heavy. And I will never be the same carrying such a heavy burden and sorrow. I pray to God for forgiveness, compassion, and love for everyone affected directly and indirectly by the outcome of this tragic event. I'm hoping that you appreciate how much I'm sorry for the outcome of those events. I'm very sorry.
So we'll have that marked as Exhibit 3, Judge.
That'll be received. You could just hear the emotion in his voice, as you can see wiping away potentially some tears after being sentenced to 20 years in this fatal Apple River stabbing. And we're following it here. We followed it very, very closely over the last several months as you convicted on April the 11th there of first-degree reckless homicide in the killing of Isaac Schuman. And our Fox 9 team continues to be on the ground for this story in the sentencing phase now. Paul Bloom is posting this from the courtroom saying sentenced to 20 years, short, well short of the potential max. The judge runs sentences concurrently for all stabbing victims on the Apple River, including Isaac Schuman. In Wisconsin, Miu will spend 20 years in full behind bars. All right, for more on this, let's go out now outside of the courthouse to the defense and prosecution. First, let's hear from the defense after the sentence come down.
Right, obviously we were hoping for a sentence that gave him a more realistic opportunity of coming back out, but I guess those are my thoughts.
And just to clarify, in Wisconsin, 20 years means 20 years. There's not a...
Correct. There's, I believe, 3 programs. One is earned release program he's not eligible for. One is child incarceration program he's not eligible for. There's another program that I probably should know more about, and I don't, that wouldn't take place until 75% of the sentence is served. So it wouldn't, and even then, it's if he'd even be eligible, it's a petition that the state, the Schuman family, the court, lots of other people have input on.
That's a significant downward departure still. I mean, what is it you think that had the biggest impact when it came to that fact?
The number that the judge gave? I mean, he used his words and explained it. I mean, it sounded like he was saying, the fact that the jury spoke and said it's not intentional, that it was reckless, is certainly something that he took into consideration in deciding what do we need to, how do we shape a sentence that's going to reflect that. The rest of Mr. Miu's life, some of what I like to think is something he already believed, not something I said, but just this was the worst moment, but there's a lot more to Mr. Miu that we could judge, and you have to take all of that into consideration.
Aaron, because these are being served concurrently, this means he would be released when he's 74.
He'll be released years from July 30th, 2022. So I think he would be 72. He was born in 70.
Because of the 2 years count.
So the 20 years started July 30th of 2022.
Does Wisconsin give credit then for that date that he's already served?
Yes, the sentence starts July 30th of 2022, or today minus 732 days.
And then the number of years on his sentence typically.
Correct.
Years from now, when you look back on this case, what do you think you'll remember?
What do I think I'm going to remember? I don't know how that's relevant. I mean, my own personal experience about it is, probably like most of my cases, if I was going to look back and remember something, it'd be like, what if I did this? What if I did this? If only I'd have said this. Maybe I could have better explained this. Maybe I should have made this other argument. I mean, not necessarily regrets, but, we obviously have our beliefs. I understand the system. We're members of the system, and I appreciate and respect all the decisions that were made within the system. But at the end of the day, we stand by our positions we've said in court, both before the verdict and after.
Did you have a chance to speak with Mr. Miu after the sentencing?
Yes.
And what are his thoughts, his demeanor? Did he say anything? Was he surprised, not surprised?
What I'm happy to share is, his demeanor is, I think, as the judge articulated up on there, he's carrying a heavy burden for lots of different reasons, and this is something that he takes very seriously, and he's still processing how he's going to deal with all of that.
Was he surprised by the sentence, or no?
I'm not going to share that.
It was kind of hard not to notice how much weight that he has lost, in my opinion, even since the trial. Is he doing okay health-wise, or is there anything you could share on that?
I think that there's nothing that I can share other than stress and diet, right? I mean, this is not meant to be a criticism of the St. Croix County Jail by any means. It's just jail by its nature is going to be not the place where people flourish. Right? And so whether it be their health, their mental health, their physical health, it's not a place for flourishing. And I think what we've seen is he's suffering.
Is there any appeal process going forward there?
I imagine that he's going to file a notice of intent to seek post-conviction relief. That's going to be a lengthy process. That'll be in the hands of some other attorneys. Undoubtedly, they will have to look at, our performance, my performance, and see if there's anything along those lines or what the courts do. But that's for another day and other lawyers. All right.
You were just listening in there to the defense talking about this as Nicolae Miu sentenced to 20 years in this fatal Apple River stabbing.